Let's talk about energy. The Ofgem, the energy regulator, has announced its new price cap, and looks ostensibly to me like very good news. It's going to fall. The new cap will bring it down to £1,720 per year, falling from the current cap of £1,849. That means that a typical bill will now fall by £129. I'd imagine that old crazy Ed Miliband will be crowing about this. Yeah, I told you, that his green claptrap is really starting to work. I wonder if that is the case. So let's find out what this is really all about from the former head of Energy UK, Angela Knight. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Good morning.
Well, can you cut through the details here and tell me what this means? Is this? I mean, it sounds like good news. Is it down to the green policies? What's it all about, Angela?
Gas price, and what it is that the gas prices have stabilised and been generally falling worldwide, and we're seeing the benefit here. So if I look even further ahead, it looks like this gas stabilisation is going to mean that something like this 1,700 of your bill is more likely to stay at that level rather than get too much increased when we come to the autumn and winter. I mean, there is an inevitability that in winter the prices will go up, in summer they'll go down, because demand goes down in summer and demand goes up in winter. But nevertheless, if we're looking ahead, that stabilisation of the gas price means that we can look to bills more around this 1,700, 1,800 that has been the case in previous years. So
this is to do with international forces in terms of gas prices. That is rather fortuitous for our net zero secretary. He will no doubt claim it's all down to his green initiatives, but you're saying it just isn't.
I'm saying it just isn't. His green initiatives, whether you agree with them or not, or are somewhere in between, these add costs to our bills. They add them in several ways. Firstly, because actually the sheer price and cost of building wind farms is quite heavy, and inevitably we pay for that on the bill. And secondly, because we're now having to do big investments in the grid that moves electricity around the country, because our new stations, these wind farms, are not in the same place as the old stations, and there's all this problem of getting power anyway from the wind farms around Scotland into the south of England. So the green energies and the green policies are expensive, and unfortunately they're expensive long term as well as short term. So whilst we do get fluctuations in our bills because of gas, and particularly as there's gas heating in our homes, the reality of the whole of the programme to move us over to net zero is one which will embed in higher costs for the long term.
Well, I'm assuming, Angela, that if crazy Ed Miliband's master plan comes into effect, our need in his mind, in his, if you'll excuse me, in his deranged mind, our need for gas will be steadily reduced. So in future, if gas prices come down internationally, that will affect us less. And therefore we won't feel the benefit of this kind of reduction in international prices so much in the future. So perhaps this is something to worry about rather than celebrate.
Well, I'm actually quite a believer in us being more self-sufficient and less reliant on importing, whether it's gas or whether it's electricity. But if that is going to be the case, then firstly, to be more self-sufficient, we need to use our own gas rather than block it off, which has happened and is increasingly happening with the decisions about the North Sea. And secondly, what we've also got to do is we need to build more reliable, continuous power stations here in the UK, because what the figures never tell you is that we're increasingly importing more and more electricity from continental Europe, who actually have very much the same problem as ourselves in many of the countries. That is that, they not only got the green program, but at the same time, they've got big investments to be had, and the population is wanting more and more power. So if we are going to be self-sufficient, firstly, we need to accept that gas is going to be here for the long term, certainly in part. Our reliance on it might not be as big as it is at the moment. But secondly, that we need to actually build not more wind farms, but right now we need to build these small-scale nuclear reactors, put them in the same place as our old nuclear reactors, in order to have control of our own continuous low-carbon power here in this country. So, it's broad questions, and I'm sorry, I'm a little bit complicated in answering them. But the reality is that the Miliband program is one that is going to result in us being both having more expensive power and relying more on imports. And I think that is dangerous for us as a country, whereas there are other ways in which we can approach this and still have a lower carbon future.
So what you're saying here, Angela, is today, mark my words, I'll give you this firm prediction, Ed Miliband will spend the rest of today boasting about how his green master plan is coming to in effect. I promised you reduced prices, and look, they're going down. Just as I said, we shouldn't listen to a word of that.
I would have said, don't listen to that. I mean, it's going to be impossible not to listen to it, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yes.
But the question is, that you're saying to me, is that correct if he says that? And the answer is that isn't correct. That's grabbing at an apple and saying it's a pear. The reality is not that. We're on an expensive path to a lower carbon future. And I think that this is one that has never been honestly described to the British people. I still think that some will no doubt sign up to it. But I do believe that in this area, as in many other areas, it really deserves not just honesty from the politicians to the population, but also a much broader description of what it is that is involved. And if we want to have that secure and low carbon provision of electricity, then we have to do it a different way. We have to look at these small-scale nuclear reactors and get on with them rather than just talk about them. And secondly, we also have to accept that we've got gas for the long term, and therefore we're much better to use our own gas and our own North Sea than bring it in from a long way around the world.
So I would say, Angela, to round off this informative conversation, I would put the question, where is the energy independence in constantly importing energy from other countries? I believe we import quite a lot of energy from America, and that energy is sourced from fracking, from shale gas. We polish our halos and go, oh, we wouldn't frack, that will cause earthquakes, that's bad for the environment. That's rubbish, by the way, but that seems to be our reasoning, and yet we have no qualms about importing American shale gas. It's ridiculous. So where is the independence in that? And can I just put a general point to you? It seems to me, from my inexpert point of view, everything that Ed Miliband says, his entire plan, his entire green initiatives, they're incoherent. They don't make any sense.
Yes, if we start off with the importing, we import gas and electricity. We import gas, as you rightly say, from Qatar. We bring it in from the US. We bring it in from other places. Electricity we import, but of course much closer to home, from France, Belgium, and so on. Well, we have a geological structure in some parts of this country which imply that we could frack gas here, and what's more, we could do it carefully, and we could do it efficiently, and we can do it cleanly. We haven't done it. What we should do is put a carefully controlled trial in place. Pick, an appropriate part. So there's several places to use. Pick an appropriate part. Put the scientists and the engineers in charge. Get rid of the emotion. Do it from a practical perspective, because it certainly makes sense to see if we have got it to look what we can explore here locally. So That is one of the things that we absolutely have to do. And I'm afraid I've forgotten what your second question was.
Well, it was just that Ed Miliband's proposals are incoherent. I think we can agree. We can just agree on that. Don't forget, they've just discovered what they think may be Europe's biggest reservoir of shale gas underneath Lincolnshire. That would be a good place to start. And maybe in the future, where we have sources of shale gas, as we did, I think, over in Cumbria and Lancashire, when we decide not to shale gas that because for virtue signalling reasons, don't fill the shaft in with concrete so no one can ever do it again, which is what the Tories did. We are trapped in a sea of madness with these politicians. We really are. Angela, very good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Angela Knight there, former head of Energy UK.